Is a guest speaker called Mr. Christopher McEvoy, and he is a textile designer who lives and works in Glasgow. So, Christopher, could you tell us what is a textile design?
So what is a textile designer? A textile designer is someone who creates textile designs of all things for different application, whether that be fashion, furnishing, contract, commercial, CMF, which is colour material finish, which is technical textiles for things like automotive and aerospace technologies. What does a textile designer do? They create these designs through different processes, whether that be surface designs, such as printing and embroidery, or constructive textile designs, which are things based in weaving and knitting.
Amazing. So how did you get interested in this industry?
I got interested in this industry when I was in high school. I did a standard, back in those days, standard grade, now sort of Nat 5 textiles unit, looking at printed textiles by Tim and Squeesties, another Scottish Glaswegian brand, and the Victorian textile designer and sort of founder of the arts and crafts movement, William Morris. And that really inspired me to go and look at textile design as a career choice. I applied to the Glasgow School of Art to study printed textile design, but while I was there, I learned about all the different ways of making textiles, and knitting, printing, weaving, embroidery, and I just sort of fell in love with weaving while I was there, and I became a woven textile designer.
Nice, cool. Thanks very much. So what kind of person suits being a textile designer? Like, who would that attract?
Textile design attracts lots of different people. It's a very broad industry. There's people who are colour material consultants whose only job is to tell you what colour they like and what colour you should be using, down to technical textile specialists who are working in things like yarn tensile strength, chemical finishings, it
so it's like
everything.
Almost being like a scientist. It's very like in depth, some jobs, but then there's other jobs that are like really free and creative.
Yeah, so all the jobs are creative. They're about finding creative ways of solving a solution. A designer's role is to find a problem and create a solution.
Yeah.
So if you're working the very creative consultancy side, where it's about what is the right shade of pink in the modern world, to the more technical side, which is how do we apply various chemicals to standard yarns, or how do we extrude new polymers to create yarns that will create certain functions.
Cool. That's great. So just very briefly, could you describe what your experience at art school was like?
Art school was great. It was mad. I think art school is one of these places where you go and you learn a skill, but you also learn a lot about yourself. It's a lot of the art school experience is about personal growth and development. To go to art school, you don't necessarily have to have a skill, like a demonstrable skill, but you have to have a hunger and a creative energy and a want to create something.
Like that drive, that kind of fire inside you.
You need to have drive and an ability to think outside the box. Art school is about finding people with creativity, people who want to do something new and nurturing that in them. You don't necessarily, I didn't know how to weave when I started art school. And I came out as a weaver, but they saw in me a want and a need to make, a want and a need to do something different and be creative. And that's what art school is about. It's about nourishing that part of you and making you the best person you can be.
Yeah, I think like for myself as well, the best thing about art school was the sort of community atmosphere and the fact that everything you do is quite collaborative and that you kind of learn and feed off of other people as well, which you just don't get in any other university experience. That's brilliant. So I was just wondering if you could kind of explain to pupils what the difference between your job and the 9-to-5 kind of office job that most people kind of end up in, like what's the difference between the two, and if we're lucky enough, would we mind getting a wee studio tour as well?
Yeah, that's no bother. So my typical day looks like me getting into the studio at about 10 o'clock. I'll make a cup of tea and I'll sort of decide what's happening in the day.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's the best part.
So it changes from day to day, month to month, week to week. Generally, right now, I am working on a collection of designs for sale. So I am a sample weaver specifically. So I create and sell designs and concepts to larger companies. So what I do is I come in here and I have a think, what do I think is exciting? What do I think is the thing that people want? And I make it, and then I sell the IP, the intellectual property, the copyright of that onto other businesses. So I'll come in, I'll maybe say, right, today I want to look at tartans, I want to look at checks, I'll maybe read a few books, or maybe watch a couple of YouTube videos. I'll sort of think about my own ideas and thoughts about what I've always felt about tartan. And then I'll start making different types of tartan, different types of fabric. So that's a typical day, but other times it might require me to do a lot of travelling. So I'll spend a lot of time in London, Paris, Shanghai, talking about my ideas, selling my ideas, or being commissioned by companies to work specifically in developing their ideas into concepts and workable fabrics. A lot of the times it's like different things. So in Paris, it's mainly selling ideas. So I come up with my own ideas and concepts, and in Paris, I sell them to fashion houses. In London, it's mainly people coming to me with an idea. So say, we really want fabrics that are looking at, say, the paisley pattern. And then I'll go away, make loads of paisley patterns and sell them back to them. And then in Shanghai, I mainly do things like consultancy. So I'll go in and they show me what they're working on, what fabrics they like, what colours they're using. And I say, nah. Or
whatever's on trend.
So while I am a textile designer, my main thing that I trade in is my knowledge and expertise of design, Western markets, and my ideas. Quite an interesting thing.
So let's have a wee look at the studio.
The studio and the sort of machinery that I use. Well, I'll take you off the yarn stand. So this is my main loom for sampling. It's a George Lloyd body loom. I have on it just some plaid at the moment, just really chunky French tweed. It operates with pegs, so I think can you see that there?
Yep, that looks good. Can you see it nice and clearly?
So that's how I create my patterns and then go on to weave my fabrics.
And how long does it take you to set up a loom?
How long? It's how long a piece of string. It can take anywhere between 2 days and 2 weeks.
Okay.
It really depends on the fabric.
Okay.
The chunkier it is, the more simple it is, the faster.
Yeah.
But the finer it is and the more intricate, it can take 2 weeks before I've even woven a bit of fabric. So
and
that's my sample.
What is the most amount of money that you've made from a sample?
So it really depends. Different markets have different prices. I do a lot for the fashion industry, sort of like luxury, haute couture and demi-couture. They generally will pay between £500 to £1,000 for a sample. I'll just show you a sample for reference. A fabric sample is a piece of fabric about this size.
Okay, nice.
About a piece of A4. This is all woven ribbons, latex and strung sequins. So they'll pay between £500 and £1,000 for that. I also do some technical textiles for the automotive industry. So I've done a lot of things for McLaren. McLaren, I don't know how you do. They do supercars, racing cars.
Yeah, like Formula One cars.
Formula One cars, yeah. So with that, because it's things like carbon fibre manufacture, they'll pay a little bit more, but I'm developing a technical textile, so it's not about the look.
Yeah, it's about how strong it is and how durable it is.
Yeah, how strong it is, how durable it is, how the fabric reacts under different, impact, speed. There's lots of different. It changes every time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool.
So that was my sample loom. These are my 2 production looms. So this is a 1935 dog cross loom.
Wow, that's old.
A shuttle loom, a weaving width of 2 meters. See all the elements of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. This is a bit of a beast. This does dobby cloth production, and dobby cloths are your sort of basic fabrics that we wear every day. I also have a sample jacquard. So this is my sample jacquard. It has a weaving width of 1 metre.
Oh wow, look at that.
It has...
It's so intricate, isn't it?
Yeah, it has 1,152 hooks.
Right.
And a total of 3,000 ends.
Mm-hmm. And you have to individually set them up, or is that automatic?
So the very first time you have it, you set it up just for scale. I'll pop you over. Well, you can have it's a 2-story loom, so you can stand at the top and walk around and fix things. So the very first time you set it up, you do that all by hand. Afterwards, there are things called knotting machines.
Yep.
So they're like little machines. They work a bit like a knitting machine, apart from they'll take a small bit of yarn from your new warp and tie it onto the old warp and pull it through. So there's ways that they've developed to speed up that process. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that's my studio. There's also the mezzanine office, but that's a bit more boring.
No, I'm sure that's just as interesting. That's where all the ideas happen and the cups of tea happen.
Yeah.
And a big part of your job as well is networking, isn't it? And like getting your name out there and your brand out there. And you've worked really hard at making those connections and maintaining them as well. And I think that's important for people to know that it's a kind of ongoing process, and that it's a craft. Like the craft is not just in the making of fabrics, but it's also your personal brand.
Yeah, it's your personal brand. I think people see movies like The Devil Wears Prada and all these sort of things, and they think like
you just walk into a job,
all these things. The reality of it is, if you act like that, people remember that and not work with you in the future. You have to be nice. Yeah. You have to be punctual.
Yeah.
You have to actually do the work.
Yeah. You have to be productive.
If someone's paying you to do it, then you have to do it. If you commit to doing 10 designs in a week, you do the 10 designs in a week. Yeah. If you can't turn around at the end of that and say, oh, I got uninspired, or I didn't quite know what to do at this point, because people are paying you money.
You have to be a hard worker, don't you?
Yeah. So a piece like the ribbon fabric I showed you, that very couture piece, that would have to be
giving me like Chanel vibes, sort of French woven.
Yeah, that sort of thing, it's called a French tweed.
That's French tweed, yeah.
Like that was done on a frame loom, just sitting watching the TV.
Right,
so that's something like
we could do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Other things. This is a more commercial tweed.
Okay, yeah. Nice dog tooth type. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So although it has fancy yarn, it's a lot more commercial. This will be something that I might sell to like Topshop.
Yep.
Other sort of more couture bits. This is again more sort of material. I don't know if you can quite tell or see.
Cool. So is that feathers?
It's hand-cut rabbit fur, cashmere and gold lace.
Oh no, rabbits!
Yeah, rabbit. And then like things that are made out of paper. So this is a paper weave.
I like that. That's cool.
This is paper and mohair. Then we have like hand-cut silks that are all temporal.
That's lovely.
And sort of like mohair fringed lace pieces.
Yeah, I like the fringy things coming off. They're quite interesting. Great, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it, and pupils of St Andrews will really appreciate it as well. So hopefully catch up soon.
Yeah, no bother.
All right,
anytime.
Thanks. See you later. Yeah. Bye.